Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another tutorial. Today we'll be talking about how to make a melodic dubstep build up to drop, just like Seven Lions, Trivecta, Last Heroes, and anyone else who's also in the melodic dubstep realm. Let's get right into it. Alright, so I'm actually not going to go into everything in super detail because I actually have a project file available for sale for this project that I'm about to walk through. So if you want to go ahead and get that, feel free to click the link in the description below. I actually put a promo code for 50% off when I released it a number of months ago, and there's only 10 more uses on that promo code. So if you want to get this project file for 50% off, I would highly recommend for you to get on it right now before that project file promo code runs out. So get it while you still can. Link in the description below. And we will start with the build up. Again, it sounds like this. So on top here, I just have the sidechain. I'm using the Brighter Days Rimshot 07 as my sidechain trigger, and I'm just literally using a compressor to sidechain it, but I'm not linking all of them, so I'm only doing two, and the threshold is not like maxed out either because I don't really want the snare or the kick ducking the entire way for the build-up, but in the drop I will definitely have it duck the whole entire way because if I duck it the whole entire way, it's just going to sound too much, too crazy, because we don't have as many elements in the build-up as the drop. So usually the drop, I want everything ducking 100%, and in this case, I just want more of like a pumping effect for the instruments. And the sidechain is just going to be a little bit more drastic on the basses. So I have about like minus 25 threshold on my instrument layers here, and then for example on the sub, I'm just going to do a little bit more ducking. Minus 31, not too much again, because again I don't really want it to do a giant ducking effect, at least in this case. And then here I have my kicks and snares, and then so I just have a ivory kick, and then I have an ivory snare, and then in the snare pattern I just have this kind of rumbling effect, basically just changing the velocity a little lower on the second snare, and then a little triplet action going on here as well. Next layer, we're going to go ahead and go to the build-up instruments. We have a guitar here. Speaking of that, this version is the VIP version of my student's track. Kenny, I actually have been taking a little bit of a break from coaching, but slowly get back into things. But yeah, this is my student's track, Kenny Fam, the VIP version that I just helped with here, and here I'm just basically breaking down everything. But yeah, pretty much all these instruments, or most of these instruments I believe, I can't really remember at this point, were also used in his track Away From Here, which is the original version. So yeah, this is the guitar from the second build up in his track, and then it's just a soothe here because there's a lot of resonant frequencies. So let me show you a lot of that, basically 4K range. And you mainly hear it, especially like I hear it individually, but just imagine when you start stacking more instruments, then they're just all kind of clash in terms of frequencies. So pretty much a soothe and this fat filter here is just to clean up those resonant frequencies. So let me show you what's going on when I don't have those. So here's without. So much more clear in the mix, nothing's really clashing in those frequencies, and that's what I heard originally and why I opted to put the soothe as well as the fat filter. And this is just basic reverb and delay. And then next up we have a string. I actually didn't even EQ the strings at all, I believe. Nope. So that's why we have this EQ here, because it was getting really low endy without this EQ automation. Already. Also gives like a little nice sweeping effect as well, so that's why I opted to do this EQ. This is another, I think this one's a violin from the BBC library, free library, so highly recommend for you to get it if you don't have any string libraries. And if you notice too, I believe this one's higher in octaves compared to this lower one too. Yeah. And then these are two pads here. They fill out the frequency spectrum quite a bit, so let's hear them without the pads. So much more fuller in context when you have these pads in your buildups as well. And then next up, I actually have a pluck that I just modified from one of Chris from now called Sound Horizon Academy. One of his project files contained a pluck, and I just kind of modified it. Sounds like this. And then I just kind of opened the cutoff filter as well. If you notice here too, the OTT is going to make it a pluck a lot more. Let me actually unfreeze this. And then also the arpeggiator is going to make it sound a lot more plucky because it's not 100%, it's at 94%. And just to kind of show you some of the settings, you got some saw waves here, some pitch A, B, chorus, delay, reverb, and then here's the part B as well for you. But yeah, let me show you what the OTT does. So much more plucky when you put the OTT because the time is adjusted all the way to 1000%. And then just basic EQ basically. All right, next up we got the bass layers. We have a electric sunburst guitar, which I'm very sure it is. Exactly. This looks like we got some saturator here too. Bring it up a little bit in terms of distortion, and then a EQ cutting out the lows and rolling up some of the highs because it does get quite high ND. Let me show you. Yeah, in this case it was just kind of taking up the frequency spectrum, so that's why I opted to take it out. And then there's one thing that I think I would have done a little differently here was, in this case, I don't even think I automated the amp. Yeah, this might be kind of cool, is where you can automate this gain and then have it build up through the drop to maybe even 100%. So let's try it out. I think it'll make the drop sound a lot more bigger. Oh, that's gonna be sick. Let's try it out. Yeah, it definitely gives much build-up effect. And let's try it without. So I think it was like 75%. Yes. Yeah. It's just not the same. Adds so much more energy when you do that automation of the distortion, essentially, of the guitar. Okay, next up we have another bass here. I think this was the Scarby Ricken bass, backer bass. Yep. We can probably do a similar build-up effect as well, because I don't think I did it in this case. But yeah, notes are kind of like randomized velocity just to humanize the bass. Same idea with the saturator, just kind of bringing up some more frequencies. And then I think I used a preset hammerhead. Tight rocker is a really nice one as well that you can try. And then I think we can automate the preamp. I don't know if we want to completely destroy it, but let's check it out. Little bell shape so it doesn't happen right away. Oh yeah, it's gonna sound sick. Let's try it. Fucking awesome. So what we could also try is, let me hear this real quick. Yeah, what I could also try, see if this will work, is kind of lower down the low end, because there is a little bit of low end coming through, and we'll see if that will help the low end and kind of free it up a little bit. So what I could try doing is doing a little shelf here on the 1, and then we can try lowering down the volume a little bit to maybe, I don't know, -3. Same idea here. Yeah. Yeah. So I don't do that all the time, because the only reason why I opt to do it this time is because I actually have a sub drop in the build up, or a sub riser, excuse me. So I'm kind of hearing a little bit of low end frequency clash. So that's why I would opt to do that. I would only opt to do that in that case. But it definitely gives a nice sweep effect as well, as we're adding all the distortion and the EQ automation there. This is some atmospheres which are extremely essential in all your verses and build-ups in your tracks. So they're all kind of doing something different and covering different frequency spectrum, is why they layer really well. On top of that, I EQ'd them quite a bit already in their own way. So just basically making space. Okay, next step, we're gonna go down to the effects, which are equally as essential. Let me show you these. These are some of the drop elements I'm teasing, just basically with the auto filter. But here's a lead. Also from Chris from Sound Horizon Academy, his lead as well. I believe I got that a while back in his Discord, his free sample pack. Notice I didn't tease all the leads either, because I don't want to give it all away. So I mainly just tease maybe one, usually just one lead, and usually the main lead. And then the ARPs, in this case, I left everything, but they're all filtered. Okay, and then next up, we just some more teasing, some elements. I think I just put the guitar here. Same auto filter from, I think it's from the drop stack. Yeah, that type of auto filter. And then yeah, here's the effects tab. Let me kind of show you what's going on in these effects tabs. Equally as important, because it just wouldn't sound as hype if we don't have it. This is a massive riser. A white riser, or white noise riser rather. Another one. EQ'd out the lows, very low and heavy. Here's a sub riser I was talking about earlier. Little sub drop, and then basically goes back up as a riser. Little down lifter as we transition over to the build-up. Yep. And there you go. That's the build-up. Oh, wait, before we go on to the drop, there is also the pre-drop fill as well. The way I would go about layering my pre-drop fill is literally the same thing as I would layer my drop fill. So I basically just have a lot of accommodating sounds that all work really well together. And sometimes they might sound good by itself, but you won't really know if it'll sound good unless you try it in context. So that's what I literally did. I just kind of sift through sounds, hear like what part of the frequency spectrum they fill, and then see if it all works together in context. So what I did here was I just did a sub drop, which is a low end. like it doesn't sound the same. It sounds more full when you have the sub drop in. Now you can get away with no sub drop, but what I would do though is if you do want to have no sub drop, you can also try having the first fill with no sub drop, but then the first fill with the sub drop, and then the second fill with no sub drop for variation, and I think that can work really well as well. And then I have a glitch which covers the high end. So let me kind of show you what it does. So no high end at all. Got the kick, or this is a snare, I believe. Yep, and then this is the drop snare, and then just the drop snare reverse. I think this is like a white noise. Yeah, auto pan white noise, that gives that swirling effect. And then, what is this? Yeah, this is a reverse synth. So reverbed out reverse synth. So basically, I'm sure you've seen this in my past videos if you watch my videos, but what I usually do is I just mute or take the saws, the leads, maybe the atmospheres, kind of depends. I forgot what I did. This project is a little bit old, but what I'll do is record that into audio, make sure the sidechain's off, and then I will add like a reverb, Valhalla Vintage for example, reverb out maybe like 90% mix on the dry wet, long decay, so 9-10 second decay, a little bit low cut perhaps, freeze flatten, take out the tail, reverse it, good to go. So that's literally what I did there. The only thing different I did was I just added some distortion, actually that punished it to give it that really distorted sound, and then a little bit of EQ automation. Yeah, that sounds so sick. And then a drum fill, basic toms, distortion and or decapitator and OTT just to bring up some of the frequencies. Yeah. Sometimes I don't use OTT, kind of depends on the sample and how it sounds. This time it sounded better with OTT, so I opted for OTT. All right, let's go ahead and go into the drop stack. So yeah, since we're on the topic of fills, same idea here. Same exact concepts. Literally kind of have like a low end or mid kind of heavy sound and just fill out the frequency spectrum with different sounds. So in this case, I used a dark cloud DC glitch bass. I think I brought up some frequencies with the erosion. Yep, some of that low end. And then exhaust, basically kind of like the high end. Same glitch as well. So let me just kind of show you. High end's completely gone. And then let's take this one out. This is the whole entire frequency spectrum. I think I added this one because I don't think there was enough mids. Yeah, so it's not as filled, so that's why I added this one. And then sidechain. This time, unlike the build-up sidechain, I did a full sidechain, ducking everything out to make room for that kick, and stacked it this time. And then yeah, I made sure that everything is muted, because if you have some type of reverb bleeding through, like from your build-up, or if you have like a saw layer or a bass layer that's going to come in, it's not going to allow your fills to breathe. So a lot of times, if you fill out your fills like I do, and then you have like a sub bass or like a bass or like low end from the reverb, it's going to clash with your fills, and it's just not going to sound as full and pleasing as it should. So that's what I did here. Everything in my drop, either I cut out in audio or I'll use a utility and then just kind of mute the area in volume. So that's literally what I did for all my fills. The same exact concept, just different sounds, and to make variation, sometimes I would take the same fill. If it's like a note fill, for example, I can change the notes. I can maybe reverse some of the sounds. I can maybe change one of the sounds up. It really depends, you know. Sometimes you can just kind of take an original fill that you have and do some variations with it. Basically, you don't have to make a whole entire new fill unless you want to make variation in your track, basically is what I'm trying to say. So yeah, let's go ahead and go to the percussions, which are extremely important as well. This snare is I really like my snares big and punchy, especially for these like huge wall sound drops. And I go about the same way of how I layer my snares. So this is a XLI, probably I think it's a silent snare from Splice. Yep, nice and punchy. You have the AU5 Domination snare, another AU5. It's mainly for like the tail, and exhaust for the high end. I think it's like a reverbed, yeah, a little plucky thing. And again, they're all doing something together, so that's why it sounds very full. If I have two snares doing the same exact thing, then it's just going to clash and it's not going to sound as full, and it's actually going to take away from how big your snare will sound. Now the high end's gone, body will be gone, no body. So all the snares and sounds, or rather all the sounds, have a function and they're all working well together. And this is actually the kick that I'm using here. I think I just put like a transient just to bring up some of that high end of it, or the transient essentially. Yeah. I think on the snare layer, I also did some other processing too, I think. Yeah, glue compressor, just to glue it all together, a bit of drum bus, bring up all the frequencies. Yeah, nice. And then Pro Q, probably, yep, boosting the fundamental, adding a bit more body in this case. Yeah, nice. And this is just a EQ automation at the end to give that like auto filter effect on our drums. Next up, I think these are like the rides and crashes and hats, I believe. Yep. Just as equally important. So just imagine if I turn these off. Yeah. Completely essential in your drops to add movement as well as some high end as well. But these are just the AU5 acoustic rides here, and then this is, I believe, a hi-hat, or yep. And then a downlifter, the same thing, equally as important in your drops. And then yeah, let's get right into the leads. So this is an atmosphere lead. This is the same lead that you saw in my Nurko project file breakdown. Adding a lot of those mids. This is the classic, like I mentioned earlier, the square lead from Culture Code, or Sound Horizon Academy's sample pack. And then this is an area lead that I also showed in the Nurko project file walkthrough that I did. And same idea, they all work together, so let me show you. Now you've lost the kind of airiness and stereo width. And obviously you lost the square lead, and the mids are gone now. And this is kind of like a more higher distorted high-end layer here. Yeah, let me show you in context. So again, pretty much everything I layer is more or less the same fundamentals. And then once you get those fundamentals down, I think layering leads and layering instruments, it just becomes very simple because it's the same basic principles. And once you develop that ear for like a clean mix, yeah, it becomes very easy to layer your instruments. So, and then we can go into the ARPs. Same exact idea of what I did for these ARPs. This is an atmosphere ARP. I'm a little bit worried about unfreezing it because my computer could blow up, but let's give it a go and see what happens. So this is I think it's from Keyscape actually, because Atmosphere and Keyscape share the same, or they're the same maker. So my Keyscape shares the same library with Atmosphere. So yeah, this is the Keyscape instruments. But yeah, very basic. We got some decapitator here for distortion, some reverb after the decapitator, OTT to extend the reverb to make the reverb tail longer. Nice. Some delay, and then basic EQ. Next up, I have a screech lead here. I think this is like some distorted atmosphere. Yeah, RC20 really brings it up. I'm not gonna unfreeze just in case my CPU blows up though. This really cool square arp. I can show you this one probably. The movement is what's giving a lot of interest. Otherwise, it'd be very stagnant. It's the sync. And all the processing here as well. And then another atmosphere patch. I think this is some type of like high-end layer, I think. Yeah. So same idea, like, you know, the drop wouldn't be as full if without these arps. So let me show you. Yeah. Same idea, if we muted some of these, it's not going to sound as full either. Yeah. So again, very repeating theme. They all serve a certain purpose in the drop, and they all accommodate with each other and layer with each other rather than fighting against each other. This atmosphere patch, which I'm sure you've seen in like countless of my videos at this point, but this is the radio tones. Just a lot of decapitator or distortion, drum bus to bring it up more, and then just EQ some resonant frequencies and Voxengo sound delay to make it sound more wide. In this case, it's covering a lot of the mid-range of my drop. Makes the drop sound a lot more full. Because in this case, because I don't always do this, sometimes you can just get away with 3 saws. Like, there's no really rules to how you layer your drop. It just really kind of depends on what you're going for and also what's missing with your other elements. Because technically, you can get away with 3 saws and no arps, or maybe like 1 or 2 arps, but then you have like 4 atmospheres that, you know, fill up the space. So it really depends on what you're going for. Because actually, one of these other tracks that I'm working on is layered much more differently, which I might do a tutorial on next. We'll see. But yeah, this is like my layering, like what I did pretty much for my upcoming track with Marcus and Tucci and the rest of my tracks. So now we have an aluminum saw, which I'm sure you've seen. This is like this one's more spread, more detuned. I think this one's a high end. Yep. This one's just like purely high-end white noise kind of area. And then actually to add more energy to my leads, I actually had the saw chords play the same notes as my leads as well. So essentially I'm just layering up the leads so they can stand out more in the mix. Let me kind of show you what each layer does. So this is like the high-end layer strictly. Much more exciting. And then this is a high-end layer. Yeah, all those high-ends are missing, and then if you just take this saw out, there we go. Just some EQs to take out any resonant frequencies. And then we got our mid basses here. So this is the angry bass preset that I always show with some OTT and drum bus, and same idea with the EQs. I think this is like a fuzz bass or something. Yeah, layers really well with this one. And then this is this classic angry boss. Yeah. And in this case, I actually even layered it up with the same contact library, but with the guitar rig, because I felt like there's still a little bit low end missing in this drop. So let me show you. lower mid section seems to not be popping up enough, so I opted to add this. And like I said, you definitely want to be careful when you're stacking all these layers, because, and this is not like the entire formula of how you layer your drops, really situational, really depends on what else you got going on, because if you stack like this, you could potentially make your drop sound even less powerful, because now the elements are clashing with each other and not really accommodating each other. So you got to be careful when you start layering, you know, like this, because there's times where you can just get away with 3 basses and you'll be fine, maybe even 2. And then you could add some distortion on the group, but you don't always want to add the distortion unless it's needed, because in this case I already distorted them individually. So throwing another drum bus on the whole entire group could actually clog up the lower end of the mix, basically. In this case, I think this is a sub. Yeah, same sub that I always use from Virtual Riot, called Dedicated Sub, kick tight. And then some more atmospheres here. This one adds a lot of nice high end to the drop. White noise. And then we just have some uplifters here at the end to kind of bring it all to basically close and transition over to verse 2 if there was one. Yep. And that's pretty much it. There's also a whole entire mastering chain on this, but I'm not going to go through that. If you just really want to check out the whole entire project file, so you can go more in depth with all the fills, with all the presets that I use, or all the sounds that I use, highly recommend for you to get the project file. Link in description below. Again, there's only, I think, 10 uses left. I might add more maybe, but for now only 10 uses left for the 50% off, so highly recommend for you to hop on that now before it runs out. And I don't ever think I'm going to do a 50% off on this project file again, so definitely hop on the opportunity before it's too late. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. Really hope you enjoyed this video. Hope it helped you out. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you know when my next video goes live. Please hit the bell notification symbol as well so you can get alerted or notified when the next video goes live. And then join my Discord for a community of other music producers, and also follow me on my Instagram where I post shorter music production tutorials. Alright guys, thanks so much again. Really appreciate all your support. And until next time, much love. Peace.
Somewhere, somewhere,